If you only knew the power of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
No. It's not true.
Welcome to the Third Generation Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Eric and Rob.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Third Generation Wrestling Podcast. It's Throwback Thursday. It's also May the 4th. And May the 4th be with you. If I was Mike Tyson, I'd just be talking, like, May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, right.
Real Big E. Hey, Rob the Ambassador.
With Baby Yoda.
With Baby Yoda. How you doing, man? I know it's something we kind of always love to celebrate, Star Wars Day. You and I being such Star Wars fans, and I know a lot of our subscribers are big into Star Wars too. So it's only appropriate that we celebrate the holiday and talk about probably the most beloved of the Star Wars films, universally. Empire Strikes Back from 1980. A lot of y'all wasn't even born. I wasn't born, so I can't even talk.
I was born. I was born when the original Star Wars came out. I was actually 11 when that one came out. I would have been 14 when this one came out. So, yeah, I'm doing good, first of all. And second of all, yeah, man, I love the Star Wars franchise. It's been a part of my life for, well, hell, almost 50 years. Saw the first Star Wars in 77. And I've seen every film ever since. I haven't watched all of the, series and everything. It's just all too much to keep up with. But I've seen all of the feature films related to the Skywalker saga, even Solo, Rogue One. So yeah, man, and I agree that Empire is the best of them all.
We did do a countdown a long time ago when we first started doing the show. It's almost like I want to redo it, but and obviously this was your number one. My number one, surprisingly, for a lot of people, probably was The Force Awakens, and I was reflecting on that today as to why that was, because Force Awakens was compared a lot to the first Star Wars as a light reboot, a soft reboot, kind of same story, just for new characters. And then maybe why I liked it so much was because this was my first, it was almost like my first Star Wars, even though it wasn't. Episode 1, Phantom Menace, was my first Star Wars theater experience. But I don't know. I really did enjoy the introduction of new characters. I thought the story was told very well. I love J.J. Abrams. Unfortunately, that series did not go well as planned, but it started off right to me. Started off right.
Yeah, I agree. I thought The Force Awakens, I enjoyed that one as well. It did kind of borrow some ideas from the previous Star Wars, but you kind of understand that. You're rebooting the franchise for the first time in a while. You want some nostalgia. You want some familiarity. It's a tough job trying to make any kind of Star Wars movie or TV show project, anything related to Star Wars, because there's such a high bar. But I did feel that The Force Awakens did meet it and lived up to the standards established by the original trilogy.
Now, I see you got your Baby Yoda there. I got some Star Wars collector's items of my own. I got this. This is something I saw at GameStop. It was on sale. This is a Finn. This is from the newer, Star Wars. Nice. It's when he was dressed up as an Imperial officer. And probably one of the worst Star Wars movies, but it was Finn, so I grabbed it.
Yeah.
And then my wife She knows I love Star Wars, so she got me these tiki glasses. And I got the Stormtrooper there.
Stormtrooper, okay.
Y'all know who that is.
Oh yeah, that's legend R2D2.
Now, this guy, I can't remember his name. He was in the last Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I'm not sure that either.
I can't remember his name, but this is kind of weird to drink out of too. You need a straw. But
Yeah, that one, yeah. Let's see.
and of course, you got the legend, Yoda.
Yeah.
Bam.
And that is
He is Darth
appropriate.
Vader.
Yeah, because this film that we're going to discuss is the film that introduced us all to the beloved Yoda.
Yes. Yes, it is. So you said you saw this movie in the theater, first came out. So back then, movie theater with the movie going experience, well, it wasn't what it is now. It wasn't no stadium theaters. A lot of the movie theaters, it was just one theater, and all the seats was in a straight line, and you did not. I remember those. Even they had them when I was growing up, and it was like you really had to find a good seat. Like you couldn't sit behind nobody because it was used all level. It wasn't like it is today where every theater is stadium. You're stacked. But so you were able to experience that feeling of finding out the big reveal that comes with this movie in real time. So what was that like?
Oh, well, man, it was just your mouth was just on the floor. I mean, when you find that out, because we had no idea. Anybody who's seen the series, you've seen Star Wars. There's no indication of that reveal. There's no clue to that really. And so when you find it out, yeah, man, it was a shock to people. It was just one of those things that just kind of blows your mind, and you're like, wow.
How about we go ahead and take a look?
Of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
No. It's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
And it's crazy how many people get that quote wrong. Like everybody says, Luke, I am your father. And it's not the quote.
Nope. Nope, it is not. That's probably one of the most misquoted, I can't talk, misquoted movie lines in cinema history. Yeah, that one is always misquoted.
Yeah. But let's go back before we go forward. So obviously this is a sequel to the original, just was named titled Star Wars. There was no A New Hope that would come later on when Lucas made this a series. But so this is after the Death Star was blown up. This is kind of the follow up. But so I guess through the lore, this is like some years later. It's like 2 or 3 years after that happened, and they're on Hoth, the snow planet. They actually filmed this on location in Norway.
Mm-hmm. Norway and some of it in England.
Yeah, and it was legit cold with snow, and it was awful. Literally having to like push the actors out there in the snow and make them shoot the beginning of this is awful. But that's the one thing I loved about old school movies. They shot on location. You felt the environment, even though the Tauntaun looked like shit, even to this day.
Back then, these were revolutionary special effects. Yeah, you have to remember, I'm looking at it through a 40-year-old lens. At the time, they were mind-blowing special effects.
Oh yeah. But I still prefer that. I prefer a physical, something physical in the presence of the person versus a tennis ball and a green screen behind them. Like I can't get with that. I don't know. I just grew up. I think I grew up in just the right time where it was like 50-50 CGI and practical. They're on Hoth. They're trying to hide from the Empire, Darth Vader. And pretty much the film is this chase between who will become the rebels in the Empire. And it was a little confusing because I mean you can kind of take this movie with Vader pursuing Luke. I guess he that still doesn't know. Like some people say he doesn't know that's his son. Some people say he does. He just don't want anybody else to know. And he was shocked that the Emperor knew. And then there's the side that he didn't know, and the Emperor revealed it to him, and then he had to accept it. I don't know which part. I don't know which half is true. I guess you can go choose your own story.
Yeah, I mean, look, Luke is still using the name Skywalker. Okay, that's Anakin's last name, so he probably has some idea that that's his child.
Yeah.
Leia was adopted by the Organa family, but
yeah.
Luke is still going by Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. And then, of course, we get the appearance from Alec Guinness, who tells Luke, go to Dagobah and get trained. And he gets trained by Yoda, somewhat. Strange interaction there. And all that time, so you got Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and then they go to Sky City where they meet Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams. And the whole thing with them is they can't jump to hyperspeed?
Light speed.
Light speed. Thinking Buzz Lightyear. They can't jump to light speed. So whatever's not working. And it ends up being a trap because Lando, I don't know, somehow they communicated with Vader and the Empire, and it's a whole trap, and they get a hold of they're trying to torture them for information where Luke is, and they end up putting old Han in carbonite, and then we get introduced to Boba Fett in the process, who is the bounty hunter who wants Han. Really, Han gets frozen because it's a test trial. Because they really want Luke. They really want to freeze Luke. So they're using Han as a test dummy. And then that's why Vader gives Han or Han to Boba Fett. And he's going to take him back to Jabba, who Han owes money. And of course, you get the climax with the lightsaber battle between Vader and Luke. And the big reveal we just talked about. And of course, that's when Luke loses the first limb, or his only limb, really, his hand. And yeah, that's pretty much the movie. It's one of the first. This movie was known also for being a big budget blockbuster film that didn't have a happy ending. The Empire won this chapter anyway.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned big budget because the movie was initially budgeted at $8 million. All right. But it went over budget and it ended up costing 30 million. Now, by today's standards,
1980?
Yeah. So back then, that was considered a lot of money, but
That's
nobody
like
was
100 million today.
It probably, I mean, a Star Wars film would probably cost a couple or 100 million to make today.
I just mean like by comparison, 1980, $30 million would be like $100 million today.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Maybe
but,
more.
Yeah, maybe. But everybody felt okay about it because look, it was a sequel to Star Wars, so they knew that more than likely you're going to make your money back. But it is very tough to try to follow. At the time, Star Wars was the highest grossing film of all time. It was a complete phenomenon, and so to try to make a sequel was very daunting. But The Empire Strikes Back did one of the very rare things that you see in cinema, it created a sequel that surpassed the original in most people's estimation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So, like we were saying at the top, we got introduced to one of the most famous characters in Star Wars. Good old Yoda.
Something familiar about this place. I don't know. I feel like we're being watched.
Away, put your weapon. I mean you no harm. I am wondering, why are you here?
I'm looking for someone.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say.
Right.
I almost felt like Yoda was drunk when they first find him there. This like 'cause the way he's talking, mine, and digging in his food and stealing his food and just that's why he's like, I'm looking for a warrior, not a drunk hobbit.
Yeah, I think that was the whole thing. Yoda was just trying to see where was Luke's mentality, where was his mindset, and I think that was part of his whole teaching to Luke was to not judge things by their size, to not believe necessarily what you see. It's not so much what you see; it's what's in here, it's what's in your mind. So I think that was all part of the training.
Yeah, because then later you can see he's actually training Luke. He's supposed to be doing. And we obviously got to talk about dark side and the light, and I think that was important to talk about here.
But how am I to know the good side from the bad?
You will know when you are calm, at peace.
Man, Frank Oz. I mean, I really want to know how this worked with Luke, or with Yoda on Luke's back, and the puppetry here, and it's the working the eyes and the mouth and all that stuff. That is impressive.
Yeah, Frank Oz. I mean, a lot of people may already know this. He did a lot of work with the Muppets and Sesame Street. He's the voice of Grover. He's the voice of Bert.
Miss
He's
Piggy.
the voice of Miss Piggy. He's the voice of many of the Muppets. So yeah, puppeteering is obviously his forte. But with the help of George Lucas, they took it to another level here. It went from just strictly puppetry to animatronics, with the eyes and things. So it was just kind of puppetry on 2.0.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I thinking about it now, the more I know now, it's like, wow, that's really impressive. It is crazy. Now, one of the things that's happened over the years with Star Wars, and some people may or may not know this, they've gone through all these iterations, and George Lucas has Frankenstein, his own creation, X amount of times, right? So we got the original, and then they re-released the movies before they did Phantom Menace. They re-released them, and then they edited them all and changed things. And one of the biggest things people hate is that Han shot first instead of Greedo. That's one of the biggest things that Star Wars fans hate. But they also changed some things with this movie. And one of the things, we also got introduced to the Emperor. And do you remember what the original Emperor looked like?
Yeah.
Let's for those that never seen him, buckle up. This is night and day difference from what y'all know about the Emperor.
What is thy bidding, my master?
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
Jesus Christ, look at that eye. Look at that shit, man. That's ridiculous.
I mean, you could see why George Lucas would want to correct. That was his whole thing about it, is that, okay, look, I looked back and, now with the technology that I have at my disposal, I can make the vision that I originally intended it to be. But to Star Wars purists, it was like, no, we love it the way it is. Just leave it the way it is.
Now, this is maybe one of the things I'd be okay with him changing, because I mean, look at this.
I have felt it.
We have a new enemy, Luke Skywalker.
I don't even buy that voice. That voice is just so plain,
Yeah. Well,
generic.
once again, that's why George Lucas wanted to make the changes. I just wish he would, make the changes, but leave the original versions intact for the purists.
Oh,
You
I
know, and
like have both versions, maybe.
yeah, why not? I mean, look, it's a way to make more money, and so for the
Mhm.
Star Wars purists, they could buy the version they want, and for other people who don't really mind the changes, they can buy that version if they want to.
Or do what they do now, anyways. Just you got a DVD or Blu-ray, you just have them both on there, and you say you choose which one you want. You want the original cut, you want the original
True.
theatrical cut, or do you want the updated version?
Yeah, that's true.
So here's what y'all used to now, what I'm used to now is you know, the current emperor.
What is thy bidding, my master?
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
That's a great difference in the
It
force.
does look much better. I mean, it just does. It just looks better.
Yeah.
I have felt it.
We have a new enemy. The young rebel who destroyed the Death Star. I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker.
I think that's the first time you hear that name too, Anakin Skywalker. If you're, a Star Wars purist.
It is, because at that time, none of us knew that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
That's not revealed until the later series, later part of the series. So yeah, we thought they were talking about someone completely different.
So in 1977, I don't think there was any in the original Star Wars. There was probably some controversy because, I understand George Lucas grew up in a certain era, and there probably wasn't a lot of diversity. No, there wasn't a lot of diversity back then. So the studio probably got in his ear and said, "Look, I get it, but you gotta have some kind of color in this movie." So this movie also introduced the first brother in the Star Wars.
Why, you slimy, double-crossing, no-good swindler. You got a lot of guts coming here, after what you pulled. How you doing, you old pirate? So good to see you. I never thought I'd get
Orlando Calrissian. Played by Billy D. Like I look at that scene right there, and I always think about it was Solo with
Donald Glover.
yeah, playing. I mean, that scene right there really I could really tell the resemblance, and they did the perfect casting right there.
Oh,
But yeah, Billy D so smooth, and just couldn't wait. He couldn't. 2 seconds later, he's already high on that layer.
it's funny because there were some other actors who were considered for Lando. Yaphet Kotto, who I don't know if many people know him. I just can't see him playing the role at all. But a lot of people may be familiar with Howard E. Rollins, who played Virgil Tibbs on the TV version of In the Heat of the Night. He's passed away now. Both gentlemen actually are passed away now. Billy D is still alive. But none of them had the smoothness and the swag of Billy D. Williams. And Billy D was a very well-known actor, not just in the Black community, but a lot of he was known for Brian's Song, which was about your Chicago Bears, about the story of Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo, the true story, a real tearjerker of a movie, an absolute classic. So he was really a good choice because, he was a great actor. He was well known in the Black and the white community. And, look, man, he was a handsome guy. He was considered quite the ladies' man back then. And so he was perfect for the character he was playing in this movie.
Oh, yeah, ladies' man. Yeah, speaking of which.
Hello, what have we here? Welcome, I'm Lando Calrissian. I'm the administrator of this facility. And who might you be?
Leia.
Welcome, Leia.
wasn't really feeling it though. She didn't quite trust him, but
No. It was some shady about him, and she was right not to trust him because
turns out she was right.
yeah, he I mean, what would you do? You got Vader has already pretty much probably threatened your life if you don't make this happen. And it's like, well, I like to be alive, and I like my lifestyle, so and like my capes.
Yeah, Lando did end up redeeming himself. We'll leave that for another movie podcast.
Yeah.
And
But
Lando actually made an appearance in the last in episode 9 of the Star Wars series, Rise of Skywalker. He actually made an appearance in that one.
he did. He did. Before that, he did this.
We would be honored if you would join us.
I had no choice. They arrived right before you did. I'm sorry.
She looked at him like, nigga, I kick your ass.
Yep.
That was a scene. I mean, they showed Boba Fett earlier, but that's Boba Fett, the original Boba Fett. If I could find a cut, the original cut, with the original voice that's not Tamura Morrison, that original voice was way, way better. It was more menacing, more I don't know. It fit better than Tamura Morrison. But I guess for continuity reasons, Lucas changed that too. So yeah, and then you get the scene where so yeah, again, the carbonite thing was an experiment. Vader wanted to do it to Luke, but they wanted to make sure that a human could survive it, and that's why you had to have this whole carbonite thing.
What's going on, buddy? You're being put into carbon freeze.
What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me.
The Empire will compensate you if he dies. Put him in.
That's one of my favorite lines in the movie. I don't know why, but it cracks me up. Put him in.
Yeah, he didn't even hesitate or nothing. Just if he dies, he dies.
Yeah, right.
You'll get your money.
And this is also something that one thing that Harrison Ford wanted to do. It's kind of one of the things in the hero movie. You get the love interest, says I love you, and they shot where Han says I love you too, and Harrison Ford wasn't feeling it.
I love you.
I know.
It's like, you couldn't say the shit back. Look at that.
It's funny because throughout this movie, there was still the tension, the romantic tension between these two, and audiences were still unsure of whether she really liked Han, or there were times early in the movie, she after they rescue Luke, he's back at the hospital and they're all three in the recovery room together, and she lays a big kiss on Luke.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. So when that guy revealed that was his sister, like, how did you feel? Like, oh shit.
Well, that reveal didn't come until Return of the Jedi 3 years later in the next movie. But yeah, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even in the first Star Wars, they kissed. They had Luke and Laura had a brief kiss in one of the scenes. But yeah, in this one, she kind of laid one on him, and then we find out in the next movie they're brother and sister. So it was kind of like there's like a little ew factor to it.
A little.
Yeah, man,
they
didn't go any further, but yeah, man, a couple of them kisses were just, that's sorry, Yoda, Grogu. I mean, that's the thing, is that these movies weren't all hammered out. I mean, the original Star Wars was written, and at that time,
It was a one-off.
Yeah, exactly. So when it had this huge success, George Lucas was under pressure to come up with another script. Now, he hired 2 other writers, but one of the writers, a lady, Lee Brackett, who is still credited as co-writer, passed away before she got the script complete. So Lucas had to jump in and try to finish it. He hired Lawrence Kasdan, who had written the script for Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Lucas was familiar with him from that, and those 2 ended up really getting the script to what we actually saw make it to the screen.
Yeah. So George Lucas only directed the first one. He had passed this one on to Lawrence Kasdan, who was his film teacher, and
well, actually, the director wasn't Lawrence Kasdan in this one. It was
I'm not Lawrence Kasdan. Irvin Kershner.
Yeah,
Irvin Kershner. Sorry, he was George Lucas's film teacher. George was busy trying to build his toy empire, his film empire, like the Lucas film. He was trying to build all that together, and to me, it was the best thing that could have happened having Irvin Kershner direct it. Unfortunately, he's no longer around, but it was the most hands off George was, and that's maybe why it was the best movie. I don't know. A lot of people say that's why. And then when Return of the Jedi came around, he was more hands on. Still didn't direct it, but he was just more hands on. And people thought it was a step down from Empire, but I still think it's a bad movie.
And then the second trilogy, which included Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and
he directed all those.
Revenge of the Sith. A lot of people consider those 3 the absolute worst, and he directed all 3 of them. And also really went crazy with the CGI. Pretty much the practical effects were all gone. Everything was computerized, which gave it kind of an artificial, almost video game look to it.
That's what I talked about earlier.
Yeah, which took away, to me, some of the charm of the original trilogy.
Exactly. So it's a Star Wars movie. Wouldn't be a Star Wars movie if we didn't have a lightsaber battle. And I like how this one kind of is slow rolled. It's almost like it's got 3 parts. Kind of got to be that walk up, with Vader and Luke staring each other down. Vader only uses one arm, one hand in the beginning. Almost like a true joust here in the beginning. Here, like a wrestling. You got to test the strength.
Right.
It's kind of like what this felt like. It was a test of strength. Like, okay, let me feel you out and feel you out. That kind of thing. And I like. To me, it was all the better for it. Eventually, they do get a little more intense, which they should. If you stayed like that, the original Star Wars lightsaber battles weren't all that great, but they did get better. He throwing shit at him. Damn. You stop throwing shit at me? Yeah, and then that would lead to the scene we talked about earlier, with the big reveal. And if you missed it at the beginning, here it is, one more time.
Beaten. It is useless to resist. Don't let yourself be destroyed as Obi-Wan did.
Oh, there goes the arm and the hand. They did it so quick. I wish they would have kind of savored the moment a little bit, or a slow roll to it, but it was just kind of like, you blink, you missed it.
Well, you got to remember it's 1980. I'm not even sure PG-13 existed then.
No, it
So,
didn't.
yeah, so you're trying not to do too much. You don't want the R rating.
Right.
Power of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
No. It's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No!
That is an ugly ass face.
Yeah. Man, he's had a rough night, got his ass beat in this lightsaber fight, and then finds out the dude he's trying to kill is his own daddy. And the dude is trying to kill him. Yeah, Dad. Hey, Dad.
Man. But yeah, this is obviously a Star Wars classic, probably the most revered Star Wars, probably the most, if you're going back to the original series, it's probably the most quotable one. I mean, Return of the Jedi, I got some quotes. I like the beginning when Vader shows up. You may dispense with the pleasantries, Captain. That's one of my favorite lines. But yeah, I dig this movie. So the beginning and the end obviously had the most action. The middle is a little slow because you got, Luke's training, and you're dealing with Han and Leia and Chewbacca, Sky City, all that stuff. But I mean, you get introduced to Boba Fett, introduced to Yoda, introduced to the Emperor. If you're really a Star Wars fan and you embrace every part of this, you'll enjoy the hell out of this movie. And just the aesthetics, the practical effects. We didn't even talk about the AT-ATs or AT-ATs, however y'all want to say it.
Or they're just called Imperial Walkers. Some people call them Imperial Walkers.
Yeah, those. And then you got, Starship Destroyers, the whole scene on that asteroid with the giant worm or whatever that creature was. There's just so much to this movie that you really, really got to see it for yourself. So if you are somebody that's lived under a rock their entire life and never seen this movie, go check it out. Highly, highly recommend it. And this is yet again another A+ movie.
Oh, well, without a doubt, A+. Empire Strikes Back did the impossible. I mean, it surpassed what was the biggest movie of all time, from not just from a money standpoint, but from a phenomenon standpoint. Star Wars just changed cinema as we know it, and for them to put out a sequel that surpasses it, I mean, yeah, that's rare in cinema, extremely rare.
It is. It really is. Well, hope you all enjoyed our discussion here this evening on Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Let us know in the comment section what you all think. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? It doesn't have to be one of the old gems. Yeah, it could even be one of the prequels. Whatever floats your boat. To each his own. I got my favorites. I don't hate the Phantom Menace, to be honest with you. Yes, it has a lot of problems, but Darth Maul fixed a lot of those problems. You really want to get rid of. Yeah, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share if you're enjoying what you're seeing. We really appreciate you all's feedback. And I know y'all enjoying, of course, the farting preachers we do, and the Trying to Laugh Tuesday. Appreciate y'all for watching and commenting. All the comments they just keep coming, but we love it. Please don't stop. Keep it coming. What else? This week, we got Backlash Saturday. So a post show for WWE Backlash, and we hope to that's gonna be a live stream. So the post show will be live streamed here on YouTube, and hope to see y'all there and give our grades. Hopefully, it's gonna be a great show from Puerto Rico, first time ever. So should be good, should be dope. Gonna be a hell of a weekend. Hit us up on the social medias. I've been a little busy, so I haven't really been posting as much on there. But please still hit us up. Twitter, Instagram, Third Generation Wrestling Podcast, and email us at thirdgenerwrestling@gmail.com. TikTok, Third Generation Wrestling Pod. Hit us up. Email us your suggestions, comments, anything we can improve on. These movie reviews are still a work in progress for us because I'm trying new things out. So bear with me. Once I get this pattern down, I'm trying new things, trying to make this more streamlined for you, for y'all and myself. Take the editing burden off of myself. So hopefully y'all are enjoying. And yeah, let the ambassador take it away.
All right, y'all know the drill. I won't take long. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Like the real Big E said, keep the comments coming. We love those. We respond to them as much as we can. Keep giving us suggestions. We have gotten a couple of farting preacher suggestions. I don't know if they're ones we've already done, but we have gotten some. We appreciate that. And like the real Big E said, put in your favorite Star Wars movie. What are you going to be watching on May the 4th to celebrate? Let us know. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Tell your friends. Tell your friends about us. If you like what you're seeing, what you're hearing. And if you don't like what you're seeing and hearing, let us know so that we can get better.
Yes. Movies, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Hit us up. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Because if you have a story or a link to a movie, something that's near and dear to your heart, let us know. A comedy, preferably a comedy. I mean, we want to talk about some funny stuff. Hit us up. Let us know. Till then, take care, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll talk to y'all again after Backlash. Peace.
Peace.